October 7th, where everything started, where my friend's child was one of the early hostages. We found out right away. And it was shocking. His name is Omer Nutra. I'm wearing his shirt. He still remains a dead hostage in Gaza. He's buried in a tunnel somewhere. And I've taken this ride with his parents basically for the last 21 months. I'm not an advocacy person. I'm not anything other than a pickleball player and an oral surgeon. But I had to do something. So I got some people together who seemed to want to do something. I invited 20 people. 15 said they showed up and 7 came. So at that time, I said, well, I'm not going to build a team. I'm just going to start doing things. So that's how I came to be.
From the Bronx to the battlefield to the front lines of Jewish advocacy, Dr. Andy Zeidman's life has been a masterclass in showing up. An all-star conference baseball player turned accomplished oral surgeon, he spent nearly 4 decades building a practice, raising a family, and finding time to win back New York City State Senior Singles Pickleball Championship. But after October 7th, he took the same competitive fire and turned it towards something even greater, fighting for his people. From feeding Holocaust survivors to honoring murdered hostages, his work has been relentless, heartfelt, and deeply personal. Dr. Zeidman is not in this for the spotlight. He's in it for the moment when you see something that needs doing and you do it. This is how he's lived his life, and this is why his story matters. Andy, thank you so much for joining us today. You're joining us from Long Island, correct?
Yes, from Melville.
Thank you so much for being here today. Listen, I wanted to have you on because when I started my advocacy journey here in Chicago, I remember one of my first phone calls or one of my first inquiries about Chicago Jewish Alliance was actually from you. I don't know how you got hip to us, but you invited me to a dinner that you were throwing in New York for Zionists, for young Zionists who were mobilizing. And I remember coming and meeting you. What set up that dinner? What was your catalyst for getting into this world of advocacy? We want to hear everything what's going on the East Coast, you know?
Yeah, so it started with October 7th, where everything started, where my friend's child was one of the early hostages. We found out right away. And it was shocking. And as we've discussed before, I was either going to go around shooting people or focusing my energy in a positive way. His name is Omer Nutra. I'm wearing his shirt. He still remains a dead hostage in Gaza. He's buried in a tunnel somewhere. And I've taken this ride with his parents basically for the last 21 months. I wanted to do, and I couldn't find the way to do it. I'm not an advocacy person. I'm not anything other than a pickleball player and an oral surgeon, but I had to do something. So I got some people together who seemed to want to do something, and your name came up, and you were in New York, and you were nice enough to come for dinner. I invited 20 people. 15 said they showed up, and 7 came, and I got depressed and probably drunk at the time. And right, and I was depressed, but I spoke to some people and they said, don't give up. So at that time I said, well, I'm not going to build a team. I'm just going to start doing things. So that's how I came to be.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, you talked about Omer. How did you meet his parents?
So Ronan Nutra, his father, and I were pickleball players together. We weren't close, but we were in a set game, in Plainview, and we were casual friends, just having that in common. But I remember going to where I davened at the Chabad that next Shabbat and seeing what had just happened in Israel, and I saw Omer's name, and it flipped me out. I'm like, what does this mean? And things were unclear at that time. They weren't sure what was going on. There was a lot of chaos and a lot of fear. People were scared and didn't know what had really happened.
Yeah, and so these parents, so in your social circle, these folks who in pickleball, did you ever talk to them about this initially? And my other question for you is that juxtaposition. So you're on the East Coast. I see a lot of your videos and your advocacy work is actually in the city, right? A lot of your stuff that you do is in New York City. And I look at New York, Chicago, LA as the ideological warfares of the anti-Semitism, of Zionism. And so, can you speak to a little bit? So you meet the family, you understand who their son is and what's happening, and then what about the juxtaposition of what you're seeing around you in New York? What's happening in this ecosystem around you?
Okay, I didn't even make contact with the family. They were in shock. They were being shielded or whatever. I immediately did two things. I organized a fundraiser for Friends of the IDF at my home. Um, we had like 75 people showed up. We raised over $10,000. And I also organized a protest, a counter protest on Long Island, actually, in Hicksville, which is a predominantly middle class, not violent area. And I helped Gary Jacobs and I organize this counter protest because they were already in October protesting against the Jewish genocide of Palestinians. It was total setup garbage. So we showed up. There were 50 of us. There were 1,000 of them. These Islamist Nazi maniacs screaming and beating drums about how they're gonna from the river to the sea, from the river to the sea. It's funny how you don't hear that anymore. The truth comes out. It's not the river to the sea. It's globalized the Intifada now, and it always was. But the media right away became apparent was not on our side, never was, and was complicit. They didn't even show us; they showed them. They took their side. It was total gaslighting. I mean, this is November of 23, and they're already saying there's a genocide. Like they just use words. They wrote the script ahead of time, and ran with it, and they haven't let up since. So you had the let
What, Sydney Opera House the next day, October 9th, was saying "gas the Jews" before we even set one, artillery shot over into Gaza or anywhere.
Yeah. They had a rally in New York on October 10th against the Jews.
So let me actually push this back a little bit before October 7th. Um, Did you think this anti-Semitism, we've talked about it on a couple podcasts. I grew up in the 90s, right? And to me, I don't know if it was fake or an illusion, but it seemed like the ultimate assimilation for Jewry in America in the 90s. We had Seinfeld, we had The Nanny, we had LA people pretending they were Jewish just to get in with the agencies. I mean, was this Jewish hate there? Or do you think that this propaganda machine since October 7th is there? It has made it where there's so much Jewish hate. Where our Baba's right, where was there always Jewish hate under the surface and just waiting to be exposed? Or as a New Yorker for the last 30 years, did you ever expect there would be people on October 8th yelling for the death of you without even knowing you? With thousands of people. You did?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I grew up in New York. My family was very involved in civil rights marches in the 60s. We went. I mean, we had a very diverse group of friends. When I moved to Syosset from Queens at my bar mitzvah, my mother had to say to the rabbi, "Don't use the word schwarze," because a lot of our friends were black and came to my bar mitzvah in Syosset, which is where I first saw the anti-Semitism, believe it or not. Not in Queens, where we had Hispanic, black, every Asian. It was in Long Island, and it was from the right side. It has changed completely. This started 25 years ago. I mean, I don't know how deep we want to get into it, but this was a planned re-engineering of Western civilization. It's not about the Jews. There'll always be anti-Semitism. And as Jonathan Sachs, rest in peace, had said, it morphs, it changes form. First it's this, now it's Zionism. There's always an excuse for it's bullshit, total bullshit. And the Jews were what we call the canary in the coal mine. They tested it with the Jews, but they're coming after Western civilization. These Islamists took over all of Northern Africa and, the Middle East. They've invaded through their own suicidal empathy all of Europe. They're taking over Canada, and now they're here. And it's either Israel and us are the only ones fighting them. But it's an ongoing struggle, and it's only going to get worse.
First the Saturday people, then the Sunday people. So and look at that's how I look at this. I look at this as an ideological warfare of the West. I think for I was going to say centuries, thousands of years, the Middle East has tried to conquer Europe. thousands of years. And you use the word, what was it, societal empathy, where suicidal empathy.
Suicidal empathy, where they use your compassion against you, and look what they've done to Europe. It's you got 4 million Muslims in England running all of the 70 million England, all of it. It's crazy.
Well, and with that brings me to New York. You guys got this election coming up. Um, here's the cognitive dissonance for people who don't understand Jews and why we're so scared of this man. I mean, we have seen him. You say from the river to the sea. Jews understand what that means. Jews understand from the river to the sea would mean all the death of the Jews. I mean, that's where we live, right? So when the mayor of New York, and by the way, I can cast stones, but we got our own problems here in Chicago. You guys are freaking out about this mayor. I'm like, we've already had him for 2 years, but what does that mean for the Jewish population in New York that is the largest outside of Israel? What does that mean for you and your family? That this mayor who champions those ideological ideas is going to be the mayor of the most capitalistic place on earth.
He has not said from the river to the sea. He has said globalize the intifada. And he's trying to soften that. And they're talking him into not using that term. Intifada is a violent uprising where there's suicide bombers. I gave a speech last week at City Hall where I referenced his father's speech, saying how there's a stigmatism attached to suicide bombers. We need to understand it. It's like crazy. The talk has gotten so much more, ginned up, violent, and Jews, the self-hating Jews in New York, which is most of them Upper East Side, Upper West Side, voted for him. The black and Hispanic communities are smart enough not to have voted for him. They didn't. It's Jews who, in the opinion of Kahane, who is right, and even Alan Dershowitz, who's a leftist but now speaks the truth, said that's our biggest enemy is our own people, and we're begging them just to shut the fuck up already. They got Landa, they got all these Jews in New York, rabbis for God's sakes, taking his side, and he wants them dead.
I don't get it. My grandparents were partisans fighters in the Belsky Brigade. And when they tell me stories about trying to get the rest of the Jews to roll with them into the forest, loved ones, cousins, they fought. They fought them. They said the Germans are good people. They're gonna. It's something about us where I don't know if it's part of our DNA almost, where we want to give people the benefit of the doubt. We want to, we see the same thing in Chicago. But then again, when you actually talk to Jewish people, a lot of this is even liberals that I know 10 years ago have moved because they moved the goalposts, right? I mean, if it's existential for Jews to be on the left, who cares about policy, right?
No, you used the term before, cognitive dissonance. If they hear the same thing enough times, their brains become hardwired into that as fact, when in fact they can't differentiate fact from fiction, truth from not truth. There's no ability to process. So you could show them, tell them, whatever, they're not processing it. And that's a large percentage of the Jewish population. They're already zombies. There's no chance. It's so hard to admit, that you're wrong and to learn. Shabbos Kestenbaum, perfect example. Brilliant kid, very close with. He was a Bernie supporter. He's still a registered Democrat, I think. But we all were.
I was.
We were
I was
liberal Democrats.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, which makes us all right,
Right.
now. Which makes us all right. So my biggest thing to point out is we have three enemies. The enemies. The media is our enemy. The mainstream media, and I can get into it later what we're doing to combat that, is the enemy. They're the leftist propaganda machine. The present left Democrats and Islamists. There's no air between any of them. They all work together to defeat us.
But I still don't get this relationship between and I'm starting to understand it the more I look into history, honestly. But of this, the far left political ideologues in our country and the Islamists, like they have nothing in common as far as a value system, except so they have nothing together, positive, but they have the same enemy that they hate, the occupying Jew. You know, it's like this is a marriage between two people that is going to be completely unstable. You know, the Muslimists are against gay marriage, that are against feminism, they're against all of these things that this far left champions. So it's just it's. But again, I'm learning because I saw in the '60s the same thing happen. The PLO basically said, "Hey, look, let's do a campaign for the black people and try to get them onto our side." This has always been, like you said, this they know exactly what they're doing. They know to get the disenfranchised people first. They know that the disenfranchised people are going to be the farthest on the left because they're the bees that aren't in the beehive, you know? And so I guess I'm starting to learn this, but it's shocking to me to see this, you know?
I'm not shocked. I've been fighting it for 10 years. I saw shades of this when we got massacred and they had rallies against all hate, all hate. Never focused. It was just going after Jews. And I've had fights with my semi-liberal rabbis at Woodbury Jewish Center who we couldn't even convince him that no, they're going after Jews. And it just kept escalating. Now some people are waking up, but this has gone on for 25 years at least. This is nothing new.
What I mean, I remember, I'm just thinking in New York, Me Too. Me Too. Remember the Me Too? And it's they wouldn't let the Jews, the women that were abused. But I mean, what the fuck? It's a power grab.
Money behind these institutions to create useful idiots, which you've done. They tell us the playbook, useful idiots, and you've created a whole generation of them. This whole generation is gone. I don't know how you fix it.
So okay, so let's bring it back up to speed. So you're playing pickleball with this family. You see how it just is destroying them, you, our community, and so you say, okay, I want to do something. My first question to you is, do you is your hope and your optimism in any of the Jewish legacy organizations at the time? Like, so this is crystallizing for you that this is October 8th going to be this new.
My wife works for JASA, which is a subsidiary of UJA. They are a total zero. They're a complete disappointment. All of the Jewish legacy. They're more concerned with taking away Rosh Hashanah as a holiday, and they replaced it with Juneteenth. So that's where their head is at. They do nothing for Jews. These legacy,
Why?
absolutely
I
nothing.
I ask people.
Because they're so they call it's suicidal empathy, tikkun olam on perverted, inverted. It's bullshit. They don't do a damn thing, and I've learned that right away. They hold galas and give awards to each other, but when it comes to actually doing things, they do nothing. So we had to do things, and we did. I mean, I did it. You're aware of some of the things, but
What's the first thing that you did where you go, holy shit, the efficacy of this? I see people coming out. It's cathartic. What was the first thing you did?
the third thing was I stated the I had at my house a Scotch and cigar night for friends
I
of the
was not invited
IDF.
to that.
Yeah, you'll be invited to the
Right
next
on.
one. No, but like people that I didn't even know came. One guy walked over to me and gave me a $5,000 check, and I had rabbi. It was a great feeling of community come together. Um, the next thing I got involved with, was to see how vicious the hate was school board meetings that I was invited to, where they're drawing swastikas at Syosset High School, and mothers of Syosset are calling the Jews evil and posting vile videos, and the school's doing nothing about it. Let's have a task force. They just wanted to diffuse, make like it doesn't happen. And I wrote a petition with two other people. We got 5,000 signatures to have a statement about the anti-Semitism, and it never happened. It was very not surprising. It's just that nobody wants to say. They were They were afraid of the word Islamophobia, the bullshit term that we know is bullshit, and I'll get into that later if you want. But it was just they shot you down as being this phobe, that phobe, this racist, this whatever. They use words to try to discredit you, but you just got to go through it. You can't accept it.
But I see. Okay, so that's in the beginning. But I have seen you on my social media time in and time again, organizing, getting the troops out in New York, out in front of these places. Do you think that just showing up and for them to hear a counter narrative, whether there's action on it, it's also the people on the sidelines who look at that and go, "Wow, that is an extra, a little more fucked up than usual." Uh, you know.
I joined the group Lions and Zines of America. A friend of mine said these guys are really go to protests in the city where the vile shit is happening. And I went to the protest in Union Square, which is like hell on earth for Jews, supposedly. And I get there and I just see people milling around. And I grab some idiot in a kafir and I take a selfie with him. I go, which side do I stand on? And I then give him a piece of watermelon. I go, is this real? Like, is there really something going to happen here? So you get a bunch of them screaming, banging drums, a bunch of us singing songs, the police doing nothing. It was total BS. All right. And it's gone. They're being paid to be there. We're coming. There's 50 of us and 1,000 of them, and nothing ever really happens. They're arresting a few of them, a few of us. The only time it turned violent, I was at one of these in Borough Park. They actually use excuses now to approach temples and yeshivas, which is garbage. And I was with some people. One got maced. A car tried to run us over, and the guy showed up with a machete. The next day, my friend Stephanie, who's a huge activist, had a death threat taped to her door of her house. So it was definitely an escalation, but nothing ever became of that.
It just seems very allegoric to the Jewish experience, 50 on 1,000. Like that's Israel, that's us, that's something I think that gets lost here too is people on the sidelines who are always like, oh, these fetchy Jews and they're anti-Semitic. When Kanye West says something anti-Semitic, he's got 31 million followers on X. There's 15 million Jews in the world. So it just really puts into context. There's none of us. That's why I think sometimes we even over intellectualize why they hate us. I think we're the minority on the playground where it's easy to hate the one, you know, the minority.
We don't make excuses. We rise above it. How they should behave is how we actually do it. We succeed. We don't say, "Oh, we have it hard. Oh, we're hated." We just rise above it. We shine right through them, and it pisses them off. It really does. The whole thing with social media is that the algorithms are controlled by them. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. So they could say the most vile stuff. You say, I'm a Jew, you get taken down. So to combat that, I'm actually about to launch a Instagram on steroids for Jews. I'm working with people at Zaka, and it's about to come out. We're just getting it protected legally. And it's going to be a very exciting platform called One Resilience. It'll be out in the next 2 weeks, and I'll definitely send it to you to test it out. But it's an amazing platform created by the top people at Zaka.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Helps you with therapy, helps every kid on a college campus press a button, get immediate help and counseling. It's a lot to it that I'm not going to go into too much, but it is coming, and we don't need TikTok, and we're not going to need Instagram. We're going to have our own where we control the algorithms, we control who uses it, and we police it ourselves.
It's like just like everything that Jews have done in the past. You know, people say we run Hollywood, we do all that. We're bankers. It's because when we were kicked out of other spaces, we created our own, and so it's just so nice to hear we're doing that again in social media. You know,
It is. It's gonna be huge. It's that, and there's another program. There's a void of news. There's propaganda. The mainstream media is propaganda. It's an arm of Islamists, the left, and the media, as I said before. So we creating our own media platform called Bottom Line Media. Some of the top people in the world, Jews, Ariella Novik, Jonathan Conricus, Maya Bentwich, David Draymond from Disturbed. We're all involved in putting together this new media platform that's going to integrate with One Resilience, probably, to have immediate access to AI. We're using AI platforms to give immediate facts. You don't have to have these arguments and this and that. You'll be able to go there in an instant and see what is the truth. And we will control that as well and give news because there's no news anymore. It's all opinions and propaganda. So that's the other thing we're working on that is going to be very shortly coming out.
wow, that is amazing. I had no idea you were working on all these things. I mean, is that where the new warfare is? If the efficacy in the streets isn't really doing anything, is it? We have the luxury of having the facts on our side. That's what I always tell people. If you know your shit, you should be able to counter anything. They call you an oppressor, say there's 15 million Jews in the world and they've tried to exterminate us every 10 years. You know what I mean? Like the facts are there. So maybe you're tapping into something that's even more important than analog.
Yeah, yeah. There's a saying I learned in the Torah: Jacob goes deaf, and what that means is that Jacob didn't go deaf. He just, when faced with stupidity or ridiculous accusations, didn't answer them. We fall into that habit of responding. No, there is no genocide. Like, what's the point? Like the minute you say a word, you've lost. Don't say it. Create your own news. Point. There, look at it. You decide. Let you decide for yourself. We don't have to answer these things. It serves us no good. It does. Do you feel better after an argument? Do you ever win an argument with an idiot? No. You just let it go. You create your own news, create your own platforms for resilience, do things that actually help us rather than you're not going to fight these people. You're fighting with idiots.
Yeah, I mean, talk about that. So when you're in New York and you're I mean, I want to get a sense of like kind of what you're touching, you're smelling, you're seeing in New York. I mean, this podcast is for people who don't have the time to be on the front lines, and I really want them to understand. Like, so you're saying it's in the schools, it's going to be the mayor. Um, it just sounds like we're really losing this ideological war in these battlegrounds.
We didn't start till now. They've been at this curriculum 25 years. As I said, this is not a new attack. It's been a soft intifada here for 25 years. They got into the curriculum, they got into the politics, they got into every institution, the city council. They're all not the left. They're just fascists. They were communists, right? They want to control everything. Um, so in New York, actually, what we're doing also is what I'm very involved in is voter registration drives. We have 4 of them planned, and I built a coalition with the Hindu community, which is a strong ally, with the Latin community, with the Christian community, with Muslims. One of my best friends are Muslims who are disgusted by all this. Dan Khan is one of our leaders. He gets death threats 20 times a day. So we built a coalition for that. Next week, we're having a meeting with all the money of New York on Wednesday, tomorrow, actually. We have a big meeting where we're going to pick who the candidate is. And you have major names going to be on that, major money. And they're going to have a conversation like who's going to beat Mamdani, because that has united basically everyone. And as I said in my last speech, I'm a registered Republican. I've been contacted by the Adams campaign to help him. We will help whoever we think will win. We're all going to get behind that person.
Yeah, whoever. It seems like there's again back to the Western values. This war on merit. This war. Who cares if they're left or Republican or Democrat? If it's versus the guy who wants to do something antithetical to the West, socialism in Manhattan. I never thought I would see it, man. I mean, I really, you live long enough, you see it all. But socialism in Manhattan. I always say the one reason why this country will continue to win and beat every other country is because we have merit. Because we don't believe in equal outcomes. We believe in a starting line of equality, but not equal outcomes. And socialism dilutes those efforts so that they're equal outcomes, not equality, but equal outcomes. I mean, that's antithetical to everything that made America great and why people come here. So
Right. No, yeah, no, but if you just wave stuff at these useful
free
idiots, getting back to
X,
that,
free
yeah,
Y,
free, 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 free. But it's not the people that you think would benefit are not the ones that are buying it. Free this and free that. You think the lower communities, the Black, the Hispanic
right?
communities, they've woken up. They're the ones that are saying, no, this is garbage. Let me get here. Let's touch on this illegal aliens.
Yeah.
All right. I live in New York. Um, I this has gone on forever. They flooded New York City with illegal aliens, like flooded, which as an oral surgeon was great for me because these people didn't have insurance and had a card, $10,000 money card. When they needed something done, they just paid me. It was great for business. But for the city, they're in 5-star hotels. Now you want to kick one of them out. You hear all the useful idiots going due process and all this other garbage. Obama deported
Millions.
millions, all of them. millions. But you want to kick out one guy screaming intifada, it's like you're violating rights, you're evil in this. I could speak to this because my daughter-in-law is an illegal alien. I was her sponsor. She came from Colombia. She's a dreamer. She's now a citizen. Obama gave her status. And I know the community. They're not thrilled with what happened here, where you flooded the streets with God knows what. It's not helping anyone except for the votes, the left, the power, the media. Every day on News 12, a Long Island supposedly moderate station, vilely left, is showing how families are being broken up, how the crops are not being picked. Not about the murders and rapes, the drugs, the fentanyl overdoses. People are dying and being raped. No, you never see a story about that. You see the story about the families being disrupted. The citizen, they're not even citizens. It's crazy.
I mean, what is that? Why, how have they tapped in to that demographic? I mean, we see it in the schools. You saw Columbia. I mean, they're definitely doing it there. You would just think, I mean, we would think the most educated would be the least corruptible, but no, they're the easiest to indoctrinate.
Right, right. Because you give them a sense of purpose. They have no cause to latch onto, so they're going to be oppressed. I was a professor at Columbia, by the way. Oh, well, here you go. So this is part of it. I was a student there. I was a professor. I was an attending surgeon for 35 years. It was the most anti-Semitic place always. It was horrible at Columbia, but it always got worse and worse.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Soon after October 7th, the ex-president, Manu Shafiq, sent out an email saying how she's bemoaning the tragedy on all sides, how everyone's suffering. This is October 10th. I answered, as I said in my speech, with a short email, STFU, shut the fuck up, and I quit. I'm still a mentor to the students there, but I have nothing to do with Columbia anymore.
You quit that day?
And yeah, I totally distanced myself.
Have you been back? Did you go?
From Columbia. I still mentor the students. Yes, I have. I went back for my reunion, my 40th reunion, and I wore a T-shirt that said Columbia Class of 2024, and it had pictures of sheep all over it. And I got into the newsletter, like they didn't know. Fuck them. It's Columbia. It's a sewer. It's a training ground. You have 30-year-old, violent Islamo-Nazis as students there. It's crazy. They're not.
Yeah, we had the same. I don't even think they were students. I think they were part of that plan that you talk about to infiltrate. I mean, look, we saw the playbook. I think they unearthed it after people excavated all this stuff with Qatar and stuff, and we saw like the leaflets of their plan, and it's just been truly remarkable. Yeah. So is there a future at all for liberal Jews? I mean, look, you started this saying your folks were on the civil rights. I mean, usually liberalism and the liberal ideology of it's a long cry now from like a Kennedy Democrat, which I can still ask not what your country can do for you to bail you out of your 5th liberal arts degree, but what you can do for your country. Is it that they just moved the goalposts, or is there a future outside of just the MAGA movement for Jews?
I kind of hope that there are some moderate Democrats out there that could create a second party just to create some kind of two-state. You need two powerful parties. You don't have one now. You have insanity. They didn't move the goalposts. They moved them out of the universe. There are no goalposts anymore. If you can think it, right? I mean, everything they say is a play on words. DEI means no diversity. Just we're gonna, take it. They create what they say they're stopping. They destroy democracy by saying they're saving democracy. It's all inversion. It's all manipulation. There's no truth to anything they do. You need a second party. You really do. And I hope one emerges. I hope people like Fetterman and Richie Torres actually gain traction, because otherwise it's going to be, I'm on the right, but I don't see that as a final solution or a stable situation. I think you need, legitimate disagreements, not, what's going on now.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So, like, West, what's his first name? I just said Adam West. That's not. It's Batman.
Batman.
Who's going up against Zohan again? Um,
Oh, so there's a few, but Eric Adams, yeah.
Eric Adams. Eric Adams. He seems like a more centrist type, or at least regarding uh, the ideological stuff we're talking about, capitalism, and is he?
You know what? There was a gala, and I got up and booed him like 2 months ago. So, and now I'm going to support him with every ounce of my being probably tomorrow. He's not. But when you're sitting in the cesspool, he actually has softened. At least his rhetoric is appropriate now. His actions not so much, but New York City is like in trouble. All
But is that the solution? Like I think before we got on, I was saying people hawk us all the time. They go, the problem is that you Jews are still voting for liberals, as if we can move the dial in Chicago. What I find more important, and we're going to be doing this too at Chicago Jewish Alliance as we move more into that realm of politics, really is going to try to find candidates who can win that don't sow discontent among American values, because to us it's so existential that it's not left or right, it's America or the opposite is how we see it.
no, yeah, no. It's a great strategy. APAC looks to primary out people that are with less, vile candidates, especially on the left. They're pretty smart at that, and they were able to get this idiot Jamal Bowman out, who's just a complete asshole. He's a Jew hating piece of crap, and he goes around like he's some big shot. He just screams just racist stuff. You see, so we were able to primary him out. AIPAC was putting some money behind who fought him, and they got him out, which is, I guess, a good strategy.
What about when people, anti-Semitic people say, look, it's the Jews pulling the strings behind the scenes with AIPAC, as if Qatar and all these countries don't have their own lobbyists and everything.
Yeah. It's disingenuous. They just have to make up an excuse just to create, validity on their part. It's not truth. It's more just propaganda and BS.
Yeah, because all the AIPAC candidates that I've ever met, on the Venn diagram, the interest is always for America. It's always a candidate who resembles American ideals versus like you just said, you know. So then, okay, so you say you hope it gets better. Unfortunately, the data is out, at least in the Democratic Party, and it's trending opposite. It's trending, the younger you are, the more liberal you are, the more likely you buy into this propaganda of oppressor. And for some reason, even though Jews, you go to Israel, you barely see white Jewish people, or you see them, but it's a mix of pluralism. They're winning the narrative in America, convincing, and Europe, of the white colonizer. So what do we do? I mean,
We first of all, we recognize the problem. They have a 25-year head start. Let's really look at this and say, when did it start? How did it start? And then you take small strides. We're working with I'm on the board of a thing called Voices for Truth and Humanity. We're an organization that fights anti-Semitism in the schools, K through 12. We get definitions, curriculum. I'm on the board of ESAP, End Anti-Semitism and Promote Peace. It's an NGO of the UN, another entity fighting anti-Semitism. You got to keep fighting. What you accomplish, small things here and there, but at least you turn the table a little bit. You got to fight it. You can't just like let it get worse. We are behind, but maybe over time things will change.
we're so behind that people, like you're saying, these self-loathing Jews don't even. You're a doctor, you're a surgeon. If you don't identify the problem, how do you fix it? And so if we're still
That's
having these idiots who are telling us like they're still fighting the ghosts of Nazis past, and they haven't seen the new manifestation of Nazis on the left, they're thinking it's coming from the right.
yeah, but that makes them feel good when they go, "Oh, it's on
Righteous.
the right too." That bullshit. You have to know your enemy. Who's your enemy? Who you fighting? I know who I'm fighting. I in my mind, it's very clear. It's the left. It's the media. It's Islamists. That's it. That's the enemy. They're all one. Fight them. there's not. I mean, there's garbage on the right, but that's not the problem, and that's just a deflection. And as I said, it makes people feel better about themselves. Like your side too. It's the you
This
too thing.
false
But
equivalency of like,
yeah, it's garbage. Yeah, but that's you have to know the enemy, know thy enemy, and how do you attack them? So every time I hear, "Can you believe the New York Times wrote this?" Yes, I can write their articles for them. You know what? Can you believe it? Can you? I mean, yes, I could believe it. You know, it's like Hitler, basically, to me, is writing the news for the New York Times. It's no different. The Grand Mufti aligned with Hitler. Why are you surprised? Like, they control that paper. There's no mainstream media. They're your enemy. They're going to say the most ridiculous stuff. It was always someone pointed out. This person recently says, I now look back and picked up on words. It's always Israel alleges or claims, but they reported the other side as fact right away. It was never alleges or claimed or possibly. Everything they said was the fact. Everything the Jews said was they cast doubt into it. It's of course it's the propaganda.
where do you get your news?
Where do I get? I get it direct from Israel. Anything to do with I have 30 WhatsApp groups. I talk to people there. I'm friends with people in the diplomats and the embassy. I just talk directly.
I think that's right. I think a lot of it is where you get your information. So if you're siloed, let's say you're a boomer who did well, you're living in your home, you're used to cable, you get your news from CNN. And if you're just getting your news from CNN, I mean, I hear it all the time. I'll hear someone, it's not just Trump, it's not just the left. I'll hear all the time, like maybe a speech or something. And then I'll be like getting ready and I'll hear ABC say something. And I'll be like, that is not true. That they're either like, so I'm hoping, I think information and how it flows, you can't be a passive person anymore. That's with music. There's just so much saturation. That's with music, that's with your news, that's with fashion. You kind of have to dig yourself and find these sources of truth.
Yeah, that's why we created this bottom line media thing that's going to come out soon, where it could be a legitimate source of news, and it's it's going to be there's like 400 journalists signed on to it now who will help it, and you'll have news again. There's no more news.
Opinions.
It's shading of it's propaganda. It's the one-sided propaganda.
Yeah. It's not Walter Cronkite.
No, not at all. We had a recent event right by my house. There's a theme park called Adventureland or Venture something, zip lining. And just this last week, it's a bunch of camps, UJA camps, used Dan Henry Kaufman campgrounds, Jewish owned campgrounds, leases out to this amusement facility where the zip line rider, the kid running the line, was wearing a keffiyeh, and it made the Jewish kids uncomfortable. The camp defended it. The place defended it. I went there. I confronted them. I spoke to News 12, and they said, "Oh, we're going to do investigation and we're going to interview you." The hell they did. You know what? If the thing was that the zipline guy was an illegal alien and he was fired because of it, they would put that on. That they would say they're attacking them. But the fact that Jewish kids were uncomfortable about a zipline operator wearing a keffiyeh, not news to them. They don't want to deal
They
with
didn't
that.
publish the story?
Not at all. They squashed it.
Our mayor, we found a picture someone submitted of him wearing a keffiyeh a couple weeks ago. I just don't understand how people can't, that's what propaganda is. You talk a little bit about manipulating words. It's also manipulation of symbology. It's a manipulation of just this, what do they call it when, I can't think of the word when you make people feel like it, whatever.
No, that's if you study this psychology behind it, KGB agents from the 60s will tell you visual, 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 show this. Not even words. Words come second. Discussions don't even matter. It's symbols and words,
Gaslighting.
and that's how you manipulate.
Gaslight.
Yeah, that welcome to what's happening. It's all gaslighting.
Yeah, and it's all
you got the big lie.
And it's what?
It's the big lie. Hitler told the big lie. Now the whole big lie is the Jews are committing all these atrocities. This little country who just wants to be left alone is starving people. 10,000 will die in a day. They're murdering everybody. They go to help the Druze. They're the problem. Anything they do is the problem. You could chop off effing heads of the Druze people, the Christians in Syria now. Nobody gives a shit. You could starve 600,000 people in Sudan and chop heads of Christians. Nobody gives a shit. But if the Jews fight back, the whole world comes to condemn them. So gaslighting. That's it in not one word.
Andy, what? So you have these couple projects coming on coming up. What else can we see happening in New York in the next, let's say, 6 months? When is this election coming up?
The election's November. November.
November. Okay, so I assume that this is going to be, the whole country is going to be watching you guys, because this is ground zero for the fight of what we believe is Western values, the rhetoric that we're talking about, the propaganda. I mean, one candidate just, really has solidified all of these narratives. I wonder what's going to happen. Let's say, my question is, what's going to happen leading up to the election? And then if he wins, is there going to be a mass exodus of Jews, or have you already seen that with your peers?
There has been significant movement out of New York of people with money already. And some are just waiting, but there it has been. They just don't want to deal with it anymore. They're tired of it.
What about you personally?
So I live in Long Island. I work there. He's not my mayor. I'm not even, I don't even vote in that election. But I just think it's symbolic of where where things are headed. You see Jews assaulted in the street every day, and they just have to say the word intifada, and nobody comes to defend. It's not going to be good. And even if he loses, I don't see this problem going away. I think it'll just continue.
Maybe. I mean, maybe they will continue because they have a 25-year head start. But I will say this, for all the pessimism, there's so much optimism. When I see when I open my social media and I see you organizing people in New York, it inflates my heart, because we're fighting the proverbial boogeyman here. And so to just see other Maccabees around the country doing it, I talk to these Israelis a lot. I just interviewed Shahar Cohen. He's like a comedian or whatever in Israel. He's very funny. And when I ask these Israelis, I go like, what can we do to help? If you're in Europe, they say, come home to Israel, because to them, Europe has fallen ideologically in a lot of ways. But when it comes to America, it is still the last bastion of hope for an ally for Israel. And so I think with the work that you're doing in New York and all the diaspora Jews doing something is so important. Even if it feels like it's not, it is. Because I'm telling you, just me personally, anecdotally, it matters, So I just want to make sure you always keep up the good fight, sir.
Oh, that's so nice of you. Thank you.
And then
you too. You were one of the early inspirations.
Well, I want my cigar and my whiskey, and I'll try to figure out how I can get out there soon, man. And
you're always welcome.
And you're always welcome back here. Andy, I want to thank you so much for all the work you're doing. And I want to thank you for coming on to this podcast on behalf of myself and the Chicago Jewish Alliance. We want to thank you for everything.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's necessary that we keep getting out there.
Well, we're going to definitely make sure we check out these new applications that are coming out to the market, and we'll stay in touch with you. Sounds good?
Very good. Thank you, Danny.
Thanks, Andy. Take care. Dr. Andy Zeidman's journey is a testament to grit, grace, and getting it done. He didn't just build a career. He built a life of meaning in the operating room, on the pickleball court, and now in service to the Jewish people. In a world that's full of bystanders, Dr. Zeidman is a builder, a doer, a man who shows up over and over again. We're honored to share his story today. Thank you, Dr. Andy Zeidman. This is Jew and Stew, and until next time, I'm Daniel Schwartz. Thanks for listening. Follow the Chicago Jewish Alliance to stay in the loop and subscribe to this podcast so you can see what's coming next. We're going to have speakers that represent the entire spectrum of the Jewish community, from philosophical thinkers, from soldiers, people on the front lines of advocacy work on universities. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time.